on Man City now, I want to ask you this question, Igal. Do you think this is going to help them with the League and FA Cup campaign?
Yeah, man. It's gonna get them back focused on the league. It's gonna get them just to lock in on what they have left. Because Man City, even when they play on all fronts, you don't see them have any issues with fatigue or anything like that. Now you take the Champions League out of the mix. It just strengthens their ability to go now push on for the FA Cup and the league.
I don't know, man. I look at it a different way. I don't think City beat Chelsea at the weekend. I think the way Chelsea have played in both games against Man City this season, the way that he'll set up, the fact that they've just played another 120 odd minutes, and Cole Palmer is it's the game where he will deliver again. I think Man City lose at the weekend. By the next time their next game comes around, Arsenal and Liverpool would have both played 2 Premier League games. So, like when people are saying, "Oh, if City would have won last night against Madrid," then yeah, I'd be sitting here coming on saying the league's done, over and out. But I like everyone's saying they're going to steamroll Chelsea. They haven't been that great against the big six this season.
Henry, I know I'm arguing against my own team, but I'm simply just saying less games. Doesn't that mean it benefits them?
It does, but it's also if they lose this weekend, Igal, that's 2 cups they've gone out. That's a big mental block on a team that we're looking at doing back-to-back trebles.
Fair.
And also you got
there's arguments to be made both ways. Ultimately, but we've seen City get over the line when they're in all competitions, and we've seen City get over the line when it's their only competition. It's hard to bet against them. The argument you could make is that, look, Pep said after the game he took off De Bruyne, Haaland and Akanji because they were getting tired, and that was at the end of the 90. Is fatigue starting to set in that City squad? I don't necessarily agree that they're going to go out to Chelsea, but I think it could go the distance again with Chelsea, just because, as we've seen this season, Chelsea just stay in these City games through without rhyme or reason. They just stay in there. I feel like that could go to extra time and penalties again. And then the question of fatigue again. But then it's the pressure of ultimately they wear it on course and they wear favourites ultimately for a double treble. If come their next Premier League game, they're down to 1 trophy, is that pressure going to seep into the dressing room and our players' heads going to go down? And is it going to feel like, oh, what we're doing here? And that argument can be made with every single team, by the way. It's not just a City
great
thing.
Point. But as Neeks is here, big up Neeks, by the way. Can't wait. By the way, the squad, we're recording the squad show tomorrow. George is on it, which is amazing. But I've got Neeks and man like Adam Charles back in the studio, old school football Terrace people back tomorrow, which I'm excited about. Rodri has also complained about tiredness. And I do think, typically speaking, this is when teams and players and managers start to mention and talk about and moan about tiredness, good things don't typically precede that. Because you plant that. I remember Chelsea were in a title race. They had that December where everybody was getting games called off for COVID and Chelsea didn't. And then Tuchel started saying how tired we were and how hard it would be. Fell off. As soon as people start talking about we're tired, we're mentally fatigued, this is too hard, I had to take them off, it's too many games, often doesn't have. I mean, when Liverpool were moaning about 12:30 games on Saturdays, they were losing them. As soon as they stopped moaning about them, lo and behold, they're winning them again. When you plant that seed of doubt in your mind. So, and I'm also going to throw this out. City players themselves have said they prefer being in the Champions League whilst fighting for the Premier League because it stops them dwelling on games. It stops them overthinking games. It keeps them really active and busy so they're not kind of building up pressure. We can't all sit there and take that as, yeah, it's better to be in 2 comps when they say that. And then when they go out of one, say, oh, it's better for them now. Like we have to stick to one lane on this subject. And I still think City are the favourites, but I definitely think being knocked out the way they did, playing the extra time, talking about fitness, that's why I don't think the season is over right now like everybody's making out. I think people are just putting out that as a preemptive copium so that to try and lower the expectations against their own club, where actually, look, City could still slip up here, whether it be in the FA Cup this weekend, which we'll get onto, or the Premier League, that they certainly could, because no one saw them slipping up last night, and they did. And I know it's against Real Madrid.
The manner of defeat points as well, because losing in that way, because everyone understand they were the better side. I don't agree with the notion that Rodri came out with after the game. He just comes across as a fucking soft arse saying, "Oh, I only saw one team on the pitch. That's not a way to play football." It is. If you score goals, it doesn't matter. But City, in terms of the way they played
Wait till
football.
Pep leaves and they get a new manager and they start playing like that. Then he'll have nothing to say about it.
He'll shut up them money. But you look at the way they played well, but they just couldn't get over the line. De Bruyne missed an absolute sitter that he, by his standards, when it's cut back across the box, and they just couldn't break down. It was saves, and it was the post, and it was the bar, and it was a feeling that they could play for another 90 minutes and they wouldn't score again. And then to go out on penalties after taking the lead, and then having Bernardo have his save, then Kovacic have his save, and just the manner of that defeat, it's just one that will sting for a while. And if they were put in a situation again where all of a sudden, I don't know who they've got left, like, I know Brighton aren't going to do it, but let's just say for argument's sake, Brighton go 1-0 up in the first 15 minutes and then just start holding out defensively, and you get to the 45th and it's just got shades of Madrid again. That's where the doubt and that's where the effects of that result will creep in. Because I can only speak for my club. My club had it in 18-19. We drew one game against Leicester, took the lead early and then conceded off a set piece and then couldn't get back. And that happened about 3 more times that season. And every single time, you just go, it's that game again. It's happening again. It's that moment again. Is that going to happen with City?
I'm looking at City and I'm saying to myself, Kevin De Bruyne and all these guys that have been there for a while, they're going to have to do a major overhaul in that midfield. And when I say major, I don't mean like 2-3 big signings. I just mean they need to find a way to shift off Kevin De Bruyne, have somebody to back up for Rodri, and get in a big fish. They're going to get that guy like either a Musiala or Florian Witzer, somebody who can come in there and be the heir apparent or the replacement for Kevin De Bruyne.
The thing with Kevin De Bruyne, though, he's 32, but I still thought he was their best player last night. He was the one. I still think he's got another year at the club. He's got another year at the club. They've got Phil Foden, who is his heir, that can play that central midfield, attacking midfield role. Musiala they're linked to. They could very much sign Kimmich, who I think would play in the midfield area for them. You had Kimmich.
I think you already have Paqueta as well on the way.
Yeah, they got Paqueta that they've agreed to deal with already. So I get where you're coming from, Miguel, but City are going to be absolutely okay. If they sign Paqueta and Kimmich this summer, which they're both linked to.
What's that guy from Leverkusen? That's the guy.
Florian Ritz.
That's the guy.
Maybe him. But the point is that they're going to get Paqueta. They sign someone like a Kimmich. Rodri's still only 27 years of age. They've got Foden as an example. They've got some of the youngsters that play in those areas as well. They're going to be okay. Their issue yesterday was Haaland. Yeah, Haaland's there. Haaland weren't in form. Jack Grealish was his typical pretty looking self, both technically on the ball and physically looking, but all fur coat and no knickers. There was just, again, people think I hate on him. I don't. I'm just being realistic. Doku came on and changed the game. Doku came on and started running at people with breaking those lines, where for me, Jack Grealish he looks really good doing almost nothing. And I know City fans don't like to admit it, but it is the truth. It's like, great. That looked really good what you just did, but where did it get him? I don't know.
They've got to find a winger in the summer. They have to. They've got to go out and get someone who can get 10 to 15 Premier League goals. I mean, Grealish is the only £100 million signing that I believe doesn't get enough criticism. Like, he should be getting absolutely scrutinised right now for £100 million. And I don't think you've got 15 Premier League goals in 3 seasons.
Yeah, you know what it is though? It's tough to criticize somebody when they help a team win a league and score a late winner versus West Ham to help them win a league. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. But
that moment isn't worth 100 million though.
No. But
you can't justify prices like that and seasons as a whole off individual moments like that. Jack Grealish, this year he's been injured, so it's hard to say. I know at the back end of last year, you start to see something.
One second, I would have paid 100 million for an individual moment to help me win the league. I don't care. The reality of the situation is Man City, they paid for his magic. They didn't pay. They paid for the fact that this guy was consistently performing at Aston Villa.
He used him for what they bought him for.
But the thing is, though, Jack Grealish where have those magic moments been? Foden's had them. KDB has them. Haaland's had them in the last year. Jack Grealish, listen, he's a good player. There's no doubt, right? And I'm not ripping into him entirely, but he should produce more as an attacker for a team as good as this, and he just doesn't do it. And it's not a dig I'm being horrible. It's just a pure unadulterated fact as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to some of these super chats that have come in here. This one says, are we now going to put some respect on Madrid's three-peat team? I'll be honest with you, I don't know who hasn't put respect on that three-peat team. It's absolutely phenomenal. It was at the time why I looked at Cristiano Ronaldo as the best player in the world, because he was the main guy of getting his team to that final those 3 years running. 100%. Yeah, of course, there's respect on that team. Still funny how Hamza compared Madrid to Luton. Yeah, he did. He said they played like Luton last night. Hamza did. That was so funny. City were incredible yesterday night. Analyze the game, not the results. If they play like that for the rest of the season, they win. No, they don't. If they play like that for the rest of the season, they won't win any more games. If they don't take their chances for the rest of the season, their approach play was very, very good up until the final third. We're criticizing that final third performance, because if they perform and deliver like they did yesterday, the rest of the season, they will not win anything. It's impossible if you don't win any more games.
I also think City's attacking style at times is counterintuitive. All three of their goals against Real Madrid in the first leg came from outside the box, came from using the quality their players have and hitting it from range. And yesterday, there was just a severe lack of willingness to have efforts from outside the box. You've got Kevin De Bruyne there. You've got Phil Foden there. Players who, not just this season, across their careers, have shown that they can shoot from outside the box, can put in fantastic efforts.
Even Alvarez has scored a few at his time outside the box.
I agree. And it was just an insistence on trying to pass the ball into the net. And when you're up against a side defending the way Madrid did, that's not going to result in anything. And I think City had the same problems to a lesser extent, but it was a problem the same way against Arsenal. When they're up against a low block, they like to try and play through to get them opportunities, sure. But the more often than not, the opportunities you're going to get is going to be from about 25 yards out when they're dropping off and using the play's long shot ability. Yeah. I don't know why there wasn't an insistence on trying it more yesterday, because they scored 3 like that in the first leg.
Yeah.
And yesterday it was just, no, we'll try and pass the ball into the net. And when your striker's not there, it all falls apart.
I hear you.
I give Rudiger a lot of credit also.
Yeah. Just want to, because I want to move on in just a second, boys. Potentially all English clubs going out of Europe today. Are we finally coming to the realization that they're a little bit overhyped? I keep hearing this, and yes and no. Are we the best league in the world? Yes. Why do I say we're the best? Because we get the most eyes, there's the most hype, there's the most attention. I say this to a lot of. There's a Real Madrid content creator today that was saying how it's not the best league, and I dropped him a message saying, "Stop making content on the Premier League then, and focus on La Liga and see how your numbers do within a month." Right? It's the biggest and it's the best in that regard. Is it technically the best? Do we have all the best teams? No, they're separate arguments, and I think people conflate those two arguments all the time. The Premier League is the biggest and the best. Does it mean we have all the best teams, like our top 4, the best 4 teams in Europe? No one. I don't think anybody's ever stated that. So for me, still the biggest and the best league. But this year we've underperformed massively in Europe. But you only have to go back to last year when we had 2 European champions. So at the same time, we can't look at it all in one individual season, if that makes sense. You have to look at it over a period of time, and it's a very bad year this year, no doubt about it. But
10 p.m. tonight, there'll be an English team in the semi-finals of the Europa League. Don't worry about that.
What is that? West Ham? Is it?
Might be. It might be.
Yeah, you didn't turn up to the last 2 Liverpool match reactions, Tom. Where were you?
I was at the Atalanta one.
Oh, Atalanta one you were. You didn't come at the weekend. You bottled that one, but there we go. Please talk about crybaby Rodri. Big ego for someone with less trophies than Lucas Vazquez. Always arrogant and bitter. Coward didn't step up for a penalty. This is true. What was also funny, did you see what the Real Madrid fans said about their fans yesterday? Have you seen this clip? Take a little listen to this.
The best coach in the world. It is true. But let me tell you something as well. City, they don't deserve this amazing team. Because the supporters, they cannot be like that. You give this team to United, and you see how excited they will be to see this kind of guys playing every single weekend. That City supporter, do you realize why they are not a big team as Real Madrid or as Manchester United as well? or Bayern de Munich, or Juventus, or even Barcelona as well. So we show with the big team in Europe and in the world. So maybe in the future you will realize how big is Real Madrid. Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Do you know what I find really interesting about that comment is when members of the top six, the big six teams say that stuff, it's always taken as bitterness. That's somebody with no real dog in the fight who has gone to it and just said they're a brilliant team, but a tiny club. And I'm not going to lie, as a Man United fan, I think he's speaking facts. I'd die for a team as good as theirs. But it's interesting the perspective that a Madrid fan, I assume he's from Madrid, has. It even made him praise Barcelona, where he just looks at it as it's almost like plastic paper. It isn't real. It's not, there's no atmosphere there. It's a very interesting comment, I thought.
Yeah.
Honestly, that guy was spitting. There's nothing else that needs to be said. That guy was just...
wasn't that long ago that LB said that they're sitting there and they don't feel they have to sing because they know they're going to win. It wasn't that long ago.
It was the Liverpool game, Kate. Remember after the Liverpool game when Trent shushed the crowd and we brought it up and he's like, oh, it doesn't matter because we know come April we're going to win the league. It's almost like if you can't get up for the Real Madrid game, what are you going to get up for?
Not even just a Real Madrid game. If you can't get up to your team playing football, then something's not right.
This is why I was cussing my fan base last week because they literally buckled the moment Real Madrid scored. So it's like as a club that's in these stages, you need to step up as a supporter.
But I do think that we all know fans play a part. There is no doubt about it. Fans play a part in helping their team win. And when rival fans are saying, I couldn't believe the quietness, the lack of atmosphere, the lack of noise. As much as we'll criticize Haaland or you'll criticize these subs, you have to look at the fans as well. They played a part last night, and it was a dead atmosphere. It didn't help their team. And our fans all get criticized when they leave early or don't make enough noise. So I don't see why Manchester City supporters should be exempt from that. But let us know what you think and feel. Sorry, let me just go on very, very, very quickly, mate. Go on.
I think everybody else in the Premier League, Man City has a psychological edge over, but Real Madrid has a psychological edge over them because they've beaten them before convincingly.
They got a psychological edge over everyone.
Yeah, everyone. They do have that psychological edge.